Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our session. Spiritual calling. So, according to you, what do you think is spiritual calling, and could you introduce it for all of us?
Thank you for the question. Way back, I read a Patanjali Sutra, the first sutra, Artha Yoga Anusashana. Now, Patanjali, one of the biggest writers on yoga and yogic traditions, he starts his writing with the first sutra saying Artha Yoga Anusashana, which means now yoga teaching. What does it actually mean? That once you're through with everything in life, then you come for the yoga teaching. It happens on its own. The spiritual calling is not something that you have to hunt for, look for. It happens on its own. And that one sutra to me has been very important because that sums up what spiritual calling would be. When you're through with everything in life, when you've tried, seen, you will reach here. And that to me has been a spiritual calling, if I may call it so.
And ma'am, to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for the question. Well, for me, spiritual calling has begun at a very young age, I feel, because I feel that there is an inner voice in each one of us, and that's there all your life. It starts at a very young age, but as you grow up, you're so bogged down with, job pressure, peer pressure, parental pressure, survival pressures, that somewhere that voice gets buried. And I think when you start listening to that voice, which is always your guiding light or guiding voice in life, I think spiritual calling starts. And for me, I think the simplest way of defining spiritual calling would be follow your heart. Your heart will lead you to the right place.
Okay. So, Tapan, I would like to ask you that was spiritual calling always there? Or did it happen through some incident or something? How did it start?
Yeah, okay, interesting question. Let me explain how it is. My belief, that we are all spiritual beings, I think. And if you want to understand this, watch any children anywhere, on the street, in prayer houses. You find them full of bliss, joy, happiness. I think we are born with the highest degree of spiritualism that can be possible. Then we spend our entire life destroying or covering it up with all the facade we want to build of power, of wealth, of whatever we want to build, and you build it all together. And you ask anybody what you want, they say we want bliss, happiness. And then the question arises: is you were born with so much bliss and happiness, you are destroying it, and you are searching for it also. So if you look at, I think that's why Manjiri also spoke. If you look at spiritual calling as such, I think we all inherent are spiritual souls in our own way. I think it's the facade that we build or we grow up with thinking that this is how we should be, this is how the world should perceive us, this is what is good, the power is good or the wealth is good, this is what we should acquire to become somebody. I think in that mad rush we forget ourselves. I think if we just allow that to let it be and be natural, I think we would all be spiritual people. So it is not about particular instances. I think let me talk about it today when I look back and talk about this. But I've also been the same journey of materialism, of power, of something. So it is not something which I can say that I was from very day zero like this. I was also the angry young college student that you see in the articles today. So I don't think I was very different while growing up. But I have been blessed in 2-3 things. First and foremost, by whatever standard definitions that you have of what an average person should have, I've had all that. I've had success. I've failed in schools. I've topped colleges. I've studied, not studied, done plays, wasted time, got into a job, got promoted, not got promoted, did a company, the founding employee, had my own tough times, worked through the night, trying to reach the best position, reach there. Saw the world, every part of it, got married. Sangeeta is here, and one of my daughters here. 2 lovely daughters, 2 sisters, parents. So whatever a normal person would have, I had. And I was also blessed to have seen what anybody would desire to see. Be it power, be it wealth, be it the world, meet many people. I think that somewhere as I went through the journey, I realized the futility of it all. The search of happiness in power, the search of happiness in becoming XYZ, the search of happiness in buying that car, I realized was very, very temporary. So that I think was the second biggest blessing which I had. That I realized the futility of most of the things, and I realized the beauty is in how you can contribute to society, how you can make somebody happy, how you can make people smile, and how can you be blissful, in your own self. And that is how the journey starts, and then you start understanding that, okay, there's nowhere that you have to go to look outside. You just have to one by one let go all your facades, and as you let go of your facades, your purity which is inside starts coming out. I think that is if you may say so, that is how it had been.
Okay, like you said about contributing. So, is there any one particular thing that you contribute towards spirituality, or there are many ways?
Okay, the first and foremost thing is, and I have some of my staff here. I think you can see Deepu, Rajiv, Chetan out now, Monica, and it's quite a few of them. I think they can vouch for it. For me, if I don't see a smiling face, I don't like. So I would stop at a desk and ask, okay, all well, why are you not smiling? Maybe I put a pressure on my people to smile a lot. But my belief is that it is not something that you have to look for very big. Causes are big. I can talk about that, and they sound very lofty and ideal. But I don't want to put pressure on people who are watching that to be somebody, spiritual or somebody good. You have to contribute something very, very big. If you can just contribute first to your own happiness, your own that you are always happy, enthusiastic about life and yourself. Second, if you ensure that your people with whom you are there, they can smile. Third, if you can be a family man, that your family feels happy to have you be a part of the family. And if you do the simple things of everyday life, you are very, very spiritual. Now the next thing, you should have some big ambitions or goals, because that makes a difference. Let's say for a country like India, one of the biggest things that we can contribute to as corporates is generate employment. We have something which you hear in the newspaper every day, demographic dividend. People say we have the youngest population in the world. It's good to have the youngest population in the world, and people are excited about it. But if we don't provide gainful employment for them, it can become very, very negative. So one of the ambitions our company and I personally have is that we provide 1 million employment. As an insurer, I get paid to do good, so one of the ambitions is that we should be able to wipe tears of 25 crore Indians going forward. Now, with these objectives of the company, the rest of the process follows through, which ensures the company also does good. So when the purpose is good, the company that you work for will do good, you as an individual do good. But having said that, I think at individual levels we focus on ourselves, and seeing that what can we do, small things which can make a difference to immediately people around us. I think it goes a long way to ensure that we get there.
Manjiri, you are writing a lot. So do you think through your books you're spreading spirituality, and if you are, so is it making a difference on the people there?
Well, I haven't written any spiritual books as yet. I'm writing my first one now. It's coming up now. But I'd like to share an incident that happened in my life. You said, was there any incident that changed you or brought about the spirituality? So we've grown up with dogs in the house. Okay, so my first dog was my first incident in my life when I got in touch with animals. And animals and dogs have taught me a lot over the last 30 years. But and I'm writing a book on that. I'll come to that later. But what really changed me and what really brought on maybe both these festivals also is an incident that happened in 2011. I was by then I published 5 books, 2 with Random House USA, and I thought I'd got a great deal now, and I was earning in dollars, and it's time to quit. I had a job in Bajaj as a television producer. I said, okay, I'm becoming a full-time writer because that's what I wanted to do since I was 8-7. And I quit and I wrote a book called The Karen Side Conspiracy, which I felt was a great book, but none of the publishers were ready to take it. And for 2 years I was a struggler, literally, because I'd quit my job, there was no salary coming home, and I told everyone I'll do better than what I was doing. And there was this book which was complete and which I felt was my best work till date, and no one wanted it. And I was in this frustrated mode of life, and around 1 o'clock one night, I think it was 10th Jan 2011, when I was sleeping, you're in that state where you're half asleep, half awake, but in a trance. And I was in that state and thinking, oh, so-and-so is doing this, so-and-so is doing this, my 5 books are just, I was in that state. And suddenly, out of the blue, I had this kind of an out-of-body experience. I detached myself and looked at myself from a third angle. And I looked at myself and said, oh, here's a healthy person who's got 5 books published. People struggle to publish one fiction book. I've got a good family supporting me. I've got a decent house. I've got loving dogs around me. Why am I so unhappy? And in that one moment, there was this wave of gratitude that came over me. And that gratitude lodged inside me in such a way that somehow it was like an enlightenment which told me, start with gratitude and your life is going to change. And from then onwards, you won't believe it, within a month, the book got published. In 2013, I came up with the Pune International Literary Festival, which was a huge calling I felt. 7 years down the line, we started the Spiritual Festival, which was another calling. So I knew that gratitude was the foundation, where everything takes off. So for me, the spiritual calling is that if you are grateful for what you have in life, you will go ahead and achieve what you want to do. There is going to be a guiding light in your life. You will meet the right people. You will, things will happen the way you want. Be patient, be grateful, and things will happen. And I think that's really the spiritual calling in me for me.
I want to add one thing here. There is scientific research which shows that 70% people have this kind of experience in their life. It's very interesting. If you want to search in the Google, you'll get that. Where you have this experience of huge bliss or joy for a momentary part of time. So if I look at the audience, 70% of you would have had similar or a bit different experience where you felt very blissful. That actually shows that within you, you always have it. It is how do you keep on encouraging that particular behavior or feeling that you have, which keeps on taking you to the next level. So there is scientific research also which shows that what Manjiri just mentioned, 70% people have that. It's very amazing. But we don't actually, we actually don't notice it, or we just forget it in our journey.
So it's like very naturally it happens. So Tapan, when profession, since you're leading Allianz Bajaj and you have so many of them working with you, so does, and it's insurance, so does profession and spirituality ever have a conflict for you?
No, I think we somehow look at spiritualism as dealing from society. It's not the case. I think, as I mentioned earlier, everything that we do, that we are part of, can be spiritual. So let's look at a leadership role first from a spiritual angle. Then let's look at an organization, and then let's look at the entire people. Now, you tell me one organization which doesn't want to do good. It doesn't happen. But there would be a disconnect at times of people working the organization with the purpose of the organization, what they want to achieve. Again, this is a fact which would be available. A lot of research has been done. Organization's purpose are the ones which survive the longest and do the best. Now, if the purpose is clear for the organization and the purpose is clear for all its people, you already are a spiritual organization, because you have a purpose, you have a calling, and you're delivering on that, and every aligned to that, that is it. As a leader, if you have that in you, in terms of the clear vision of where you have to reach along with your people, and the purpose is defined, and the purpose is compelling enough for your people to have an alignment with that, and you create an environment which is conducive for people to be happy while they work. We also forget that if you look at all of waking time, 70-80% would be working in an organization. In your active age, from 23 to about 65 or 70, you would be spending 70-80% time working. If you're not happy there, you cannot be happy in your life, and if you're not spiritually inclined while working, you can't be spiritually inclined. So conflict is not there at all. It is about how you look at it, how do you align your people, how do you align your organization, and how do you ensure that you create a conducive environment where people are happy delivering the purpose which has been clearly articulated, and people believe in that. If all this combined together, I think spiritualism as an individual, as an organization, is not different from what it is, and I don't see any conflict in that.
Do you think over the years, the people leaning towards it have increased or decreased?
There are two parameters for it. First is how happy is the country. I think if I look at our own country, India as such, and if I take all of us, let's say 20, 30 years back, we do not have so many cars on the road. In fact, we may not have possessed a car ourselves. We will not see so much crowd at airports and not so many eating joints. As a country, we are not as rich as we are today. But if I ask you, were we happier as a country then or are we now? I think most of us would say that we're happier as a country then. It is so ironical that we didn't have enough wealth, but we were very, very happy. Today as a country, we have moved ahead in creating wealth, and we're talking of creating a $5 trillion economy, but our happiness quotient has come down. Now, this to me is one parameter that people are losing touch with their spiritualism. That is one. Second, if I look at unrest, it is happening more aggressive now compared to what I would have seen. We still had unrest when I was also young, but it's not so aggressive. It's not for such a long period of time. So somewhere this miss worries me. More than anything else, as a country, we are known for being a spiritual country. We are known for a land of happiness, bliss, contentment, whatever empathy, gratitude, whatever words you associate with spiritualism and good life, India was associated with all of it. Are we there today or not? And I think forums like this bring this question to the table and makes us think. The last thing I'd want is that we become a $5 trillion or $50 trillion economy and we become a very sad, depressive country. Who amongst us would want that? I think the time has come to bring this question to the table and talk about it.
So do you think that since it is a problem, like then we were more spiritual, we were more happy, now it has become a problem, like there are less people going towards it. So do you think that there is a way you can make the younger minds a part of it?
Okay, so when I go to speak at colleges, a lot of time people ask me this question, that how can we become more spiritual? And I also answer another question people ask me, how can we become 100x more productive? So first let's talk about the spiritual part. So most time I just smile and say, you lead the life you want to lead. Don't worry too much about whether you become spiritual or not. Worry more about that your action should not be negative. Worry more about that you should not be destructive in what you think or do. But if you want to acquire something, you have a desire for acquiring a bigger car, house, go for it. You'll realize the futility of it after acquiring it the way I have realized. But to tell you that it is futile now, you would think, okay, somebody who's acquired it can always say that. But there are some people who are like me, who have to understand this after we have gone through the journey. There are some people who are really very good and very brilliant, understand much before the journey begins. And some people who are like some of us who don't understand it even after the journey ends. So I don't think that we should try and say what is, but understand that as you progress, if you don't commit negativity, hurt somebody, that is all you should worry about now. Another question people ask me is, how can you become 100x productive? I think this question came to me as a surprise once speaking, and said, okay, you can do so many activities in such a short time. How can we also be that? And I was thinking, I don't do anything different. And then I realized that if you want to increase your productivity by 100x, just do 2-3 things. I told those group of students. I said, stop being negative, stop having hatred in your heart, forgive people. And any negative thought that comes to your mind is difficult, but try and see that slowly release it. Forgive people, have gratitude, and keep your mind very open to positivity. Just try. It takes time. It is not like a switch. It will happen today. But if you focus on it, and over time, you're able to reduce negativity, and let me know after a couple of years, did your productivity go up or not? One of them called me after about 3 or 4 years and said it went up by at least 20-30x. We don't realize that when we hate somebody, when we have some negative thought about anybody, when we want to play politics or play games, we are blocking away a huge capacity of our mind on a constant basis. It will keep on playing on the mind for a long, long time. How can you multiply your productivity by a short span of mind which is free because of positivity? If you just let it go, it has no relevance. If you let go of hatred, you let go of negative emotions, if you forgive people, and you have positivity and think good of people, you actually free up your mind 100x. It is surprising, but if there's only one thing that we learn from today's session is, can we let go, forgive, have gratitude, and see the results that we do in our normal life. We don't multiply at least 30-40x, I'll be surprised. That is the power of letting go of negativity.
So in today's world, it's very difficult to be consistent. How does one be consistent in spirituality?
I think I'm doing some yoga. Yeah. So okay. For me, consistency is like this. Whenever I falter, it hits back very, very fast. No? See, I think if I just make it very simplified in terms of spirituality, it just means that if you are a good human being, the traits that you were born with and which you did not color yourself with later, you are a spiritual person. No? That is why I say children are the most spiritual people. No? You watch them, you know that you have seen a spiritual soul. And that's why everybody loves to be with children, no? Because they find in them so welcoming and so blissful and happy. And so I'd be surprised somebody doesn't like a small child. Not only your own, but even if you see an animal child, anybody you see, you get attracted to it. Every child is the pure spiritual soul that one can see. Now, whenever you deviate, whenever you have anger, whenever you have negative emotions, I personally feel that it brings my competence level, it brings me down hugely. And I can see that in the next couple of days are happening. So I think that again pushes me back to saying I'm not going the right direction. It is destroying me as a human being, it is destroying my powers as a performer, as an individual, if I deviate and get into that, for the point that I mentioned to you. So it's a feedback mechanism. If you are aware and if you are mindful of what you are doing, the feedback mechanism ensures that you keep on coming back to consistency. One, and second is every day take some time out. Even if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes time. I think my daughter is here. I tell her that when she's traveling to office in the car, in 10 minutes time, instead of listening to some music, why can't she just try and be calm, and observe every minutest detail, Or I think with my wife, she is the one who introduced me to meditation very early times back. So it is something that you have to also, in your own circle, keep on reinforcing it, talking about it. And whenever you go negative, you're mindful, you'll observe it very, very strongly, and that brings you back to the path. I think that is the way I experience it.
Manjiri, are you planning to write a book on spirituality or?
Yes, I have. I am actually. So we just unveiled the cover day before yesterday. Rajiv Mehrotra did it. The book is called The Dog Preen of Peace, the common man's non-yogic approach to a spiritual life and enlightenment. So I've been working with dogs, and in fact all my entire family has been working with street dogs for the last 30 years. We've taken care of them, we've got them sterilized. And why dogs? Because I believe that dogs are real man's best friend, and it may take time for us to realize that, but DOG backwards is really GOD. And we need to realize this, and through my book I'm trying to put this theory, supported by interviews of real spiritual people. I'm not a yogi, but I do feel that I have found a path which will give you the path to peace, to unconditional love. And if everyone practices it, it's not a one-person thing, of course. If everyone practices it, the world will be a peaceful place. And it begins with a very simple thing like loving a street dog. What is in the book? You can read it. You may agree with it, you may not agree with it, but I really believe that the path to spirituality, to a peaceful world, is through animals.
I have a volunteer for you, my EA for many years, Vikramji. Every weekend he contributes, trying to, I can't see him here. Yeah.
Yes.
He's in the back, okay.
Yes, so I do believe that you asked a question earlier. Do you think books will bring an impact?
Bring an impact.
Yeah, so I think that something has to happen at mass levels. Just you, me, or 5 animal-loving people are not going to change the world, because there are horrible things happening to animals in the world. Simple, for fashion, you're in fashion, where cows are skinned alive, and the terrible things happening. We are monsters in the form of human beings right now, and it's a growing trend. It's happening at corporate levels and at mass levels. So just you and me sitting here and talking about spirituality and compassion and love is not enough. There's something more has to be done. Since I'm a writer, I will try it through the medium of a book. If I can make a film on it. So I need to reach out to the masses. Well, I always say this, that you can lead a horse to the water, but whether the horse will drink the water or not will depend on whether he's destined to quench his thirst. And so I'm going to try giving my book out there, and it's a path to divinity. Loving animals is a path to divinity. Spirituality is a path to divinity. Doesn't have to be in the temples or whatever. Being spiritual yourself in every way you behave, like he said, it's a way of living. And I'm going to put the book out there. Those who are destined to find the divine path will find the book. But I think it's a way of doing it. I'm going to try it.
So, Tapan, another question for you is, like Manjiri said, about the gurus. So, what is it that I see a lot of, and I'm sure everyone, a lot of the corporate people, especially, they're like, oh, I follow Sadhguru, I follow this one. So, or like, is that the right way for a person to go and know spirituality, or how?
I love reading a lot, and I love talking to people a lot. So I have interacted and talked to many people. I have my friend Vivek here also. I think we end up talking a lot of times about different things across. If you look at the essence of whatever I have read, right or wrong, they say to even become enlightened or to be spiritual, you require no one. You are your own guru, and you are your own follower. Because at the end of it, it is as you let go of the sheets of layers you have created, as you let go of and you become calm and become centered, is where you go enlightened. That is how and I can go on the details of what Patanjali wrote in his sutras in terms of how layers have to be thought about. At the same time, you have people who would have experienced it, or would be the journey, or would be aware about it. So if somebody is able to understand, learn from them, it's good. But if somebody feels that they cannot learn to become spiritual enlightened, they don't have a guru, maybe a guru may make things easier, but that also is wrong, because in most of the Puranas also and Upanishads also is mentioned that you are your own guru. And if you are able to understand and just allow yourself to be, you will get there. You look at the essence of meditation as just this, you get centered and you just let it be. But if somebody teaches you, it's good. So I think it's each to his or her own. But from my perspective, I think I treat everybody as my guru, because I learn from every individual I've met. I learn from every book. Manjiri gave me a book last time I was here. I've gone through some books. I try and even learn from that. So when you have eternal quest for learning, and you treat everybody as a guru, and if you are able to get yourself centered and more inwards as you progress forward, I think it's pretty easy. But to everybody his or her own, whatever path they may follow. I think Swami Vivekananda mentioned that there are many paths to God. Whatever you follow is right.
Okay, so spirituality, another this thing on spirituality was that, like I told you, how do you get more young minds to it? So is there anything, if you go to think seriously, like Manjiri said that it's through my book I will reach them. But when I hear you all now, or everyone is hearing you now, you said, one needs to be happy, one needs to be content, or one needs to forgive people for what they're doing. So all this is not... or we don't understand when we are small, and then you go to a particular age, like I told you, some incident makes you spiritual. So do you think that it should be starting from school?
I think we complicate every subject. As human beings, we are very good at it. Anything you give us to sound important, we'll complicate it. In spiritualism, we've complicated it to a large extent. No? Let's say if I just make forgive my marketing skills, if I just make a statement that to the child that I'll make you a superhero if you do this. Which child would not want to become a superhero? I think we all grew up reading about superheroes, Phantom, Mandrake. We all wanted to be super heroes in life. And I say you can become 10x, 100x if you just forgive your friend. If you just be who you were, don't try to get into hatred, enmity. Don't worry about who has to come first, who has to you enjoy doing what, and you be yourself, and you will be a superhero. Why would a child not be trying to follow that path? The problem is our education system is so complex. I think I heard the finance minister speaking about that there has to be a change in education system also. It has no relevance. If most of us sitting here, who can say that what they studied is what they are doing? Vivek did his MBA from London School of Business. He's making movies now. I think, I think she was a producer writing books now. You are into fashion, and what did you study to begin with? I think we just have to reinforce being a good human being is the most essential study that we should be focusing on. No? And obviously, languages we have to understand so we can communicate, writing, some formulas, theories, history, all that is good. At the end of it, I think what a person wants to be, where it has to be, and that is what we should be reinforcing on. And if you look at our ancient education system of the Gurukul, it re-emphasized that. It taught about yoga, it taught about meditation, it taught about being good human beings, having values, it taught about dharma. No? Are we teaching all that? We are not anymore. So I think that is where
That's
the
why I asked
problem
that should
coming
we
to.
start introducing it in schools?
Yeah, we should. But the moment you start saying that we will do spiritualism and then religious and fanatic starts coming in, we spoil the entire environment. So we should not use the word spiritualism. I think we should just use the word about what makes them more being a good human being. I think we should. That should not complicate the subject, but by simplifying it, we can still. And as parents, we should actually start. Why should we wait for the school to start? As parents, what are the values that we're putting in a child? Are we wanting him to just get into a good company, make tons of money as the way of happiness, or want a child to really be happy? And we talk about happiness, we talk about attributes, we talk about gratitude. Now, what do we teach the child? I think that itself will lead to where we want to be as a society.
Manjiri, do you have anything more to say now?
Yeah, so yes, I believe that everything starts as a child. I mean, for example, when I said this in the earlier session also, that when I moved into a new house 15, 20 years ago, and I realized that there were dogs in the streets. I'm coming back to dogs because that's my part to spirituality. So when I saw that they were all neglected and all, what I did was I formed an animal welfare club with children. And I made them feed the dogs, I made them bathe them, I made them treat, so that they understand responsibility and they understand love. And I think you have to start at the grassroots, which is for us in human form, children, because they are going to grow up to be good citizens, good human beings. So keeping that in mind, even in the Pune Lit Fest, we have a separate children's stream called the Treasure Island, where we introduce certain creative classes or meditation classes or whatever. And even in this festival, hopefully next year, we are planning to have a separate children's stream, so that we introduce them to good habits, good living styles, being a good human being, not necessarily call it spirituality, like he said, and not complicate matters, but yes, introduce them to the good things of life, give them the tools to be good human beings, and let them take it and do what they want to with it. I think but yes, children should really, parents have to focus on children and make them good human beings.
It has to be taught from small, so for the young minds. Tapan, spirituality, like we told you, you said business and spirituality is not a conflict. But in case someone just comes to you and is really in need or has a problem, how do you handle that situation? Because it's all about, being good or understanding the front person.
If somebody comes to your problem, you already achieved a lot. How many of us trust to go to somebody with a problem? No? Most of us. And that again is a big problem, because most of us keep our problems to ourselves. We don't talk about it, we don't discuss. And that again keeps on building up. So if somebody comes, you are blessed that somebody has come to you with a problem. You should feel very happy and thankful to God that if you can make a difference in somebody's life, it's an opportunity for you, which is God sent. So don't miss that. That's the first attitude. Second attitude is, my feeling has been that in most of the cases, if I just sit and listen, 90% of the time I do nothing. If I sit and listen, the person who comes with the problem, goes away with the solution, which is very surprising. The problem has been that nobody was listening to the person. And 10% of the time, some action has to be done. And if you ask some relevant questions, you are able to figure out a path which can give a solution to the problem. So if I look at the summary of this, if one message is that if you have a problem, speak. It's good to speak. Everybody is vulnerable. Each one of us is vulnerable. There's nothing for us to feel ashamed of talking about a problem, be it in the organization or be it as individuals. Second, you will see that when you speak, 90% of the time your problems get solved on its own way. 10% think logically to figure out what is the call of action and work on it, because that is how it solves it. It does not get solved also, nothing to be disheartened. I said I failed in my life many times, and if I really got very stuck with that particular failure, it would have not led me anywhere. So even let's say it doesn't work out, it's fine. Then you still think about the next step and then you move on. But carrying it as a baggage in your mind and carrying for a long time is going to be disastrous for you as an individual. I think that is how it works out.
Manjiri, how do you handle if somebody comes with a situation to you?
How do I handle that?
Somebody comes with a problem to your situation.
Somebody comes with a problem
So when
to
you know spirituality is so important or being good or kind, so how do you?
Well, I first of all tell them I'm no expert in any field. I do try to guide them, of course, but like he said, I do a lot of listening too, and I do offer solutions. But you see, lots of people have told me that I'm 50 years ahead of time, so my solutions would never match anybody's solutions. Like for example, if a housewife comes to me and says, "My husband," whatever, I'm just giving an example, I'll say, "Walk out,"
Okay.
and that's not a solution at all. That's not a solution. No one will give the solution, but I would say that. I'll say, don't tolerate this shit, just get out. But you see, so I'm not a good advisor in that sense, because I will say, just step out and lead your own life. So you need a counselor who will see both sides of the story. I am more the kind who will say, if this doesn't happen, just move on. There are important things in life that you need to focus on. You have a good family, focus on that. You want to do something for the world, focus on that. You want to develop yourself, focus on that. Do not give importance to unimportant things. If it's a breakup, I'll say let him or her go. If you've lost a job, I'll say take a break and look for something else, or there's something that's definitely coming your way. Because I believe that everything is planned in life. You just have to look out for the signs. Take those signs and start moving. If you're stuck in one place, you're stuck. And that's the advice I give everyone.
Okay, Tapan, let's end the spirituality with you saying something and a message to all of them over there.
And Manjiri definitely is 50 years ahead of times. I would only say, being stuck is not stuck, Yeah, not even moving out, I think it's about experiencing. It's about relishing every moment. Good and bad is your definition, If you, again, go back to the core of spirituality, and the way it's looked at is that you have the Purusha or the soul, which is an observer in the structure that is created now. The observer does not define good or bad. The body or the sensory equipment that you have are the ones which have experiences. The ones who can relish experiences as per your definition of good or bad, and you relish it well, every experience, and live in that experience and feel that will be very close to enlightenment. But that is what the soul or the Purusha in the body as it is defined is supposed to be. If you push away experiences, again as per the philosophy that I have read, it will not go away. You have to go through the journey of experiences. It will again come back to you much later in time. So, relishing every experience in your life, accepting it as a gift of the divine, and living every moment beautifully is what will define you as a spiritual person, and would get you whatever you have desired in life. Would definitely make you a superhero, because that is what people associate. But relish every moment. There's nothing good and bad. It's just moments that you have to relish.
Manjiri, would you like to say something to end the spiritual?
For me, like I said, just follow your heart. Listen to that inner voice. I'm sure it will lead you on the right path.
Thank you, Manjiri. Thank you, Tapan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Okay.
So we can take some questions if anybody wants to ask Tapan something. Well, he's the expert. He's a real person here.
No, thank you, Manjiri, for honor. But everybody's expert. I can ask a reverse question and get very fantastic answers. I think we just have to accept the fact. I said somewhere also, at situationally, somebody is the leader, somebody is the follower, and the situation keeps on changing. So at one moment somebody may be leading, at the next moment somebody else may be leading. It's all situational.
I have a question.
It is not a question, but I'm very curious to know. The way you were speaking just now showed as if, when I would counter to what she said, I will ask somebody to walk away from the life, and you you were against it, but the way you were putting it was in a more romantic way, which everybody could realize that is, it was becoming too personal for a romantic way. So the way you put the spirituality and all your thoughts, do you write poetries or are you poet, or do you express the spirituality through poems or art? Do you have that?
I have never tried this, no, but I express what I have to express. That is something which is been, and God, I say God is kind. I've been in leadership positions a long time. I didn't have to hesitate to express myself. I think that again was something which is good.
What is the mode of express? That's what I'm asking.
Just the way I did. What I feel, I speak. No, so when I felt that what Manjiri said is a strong point of view, which would give happiness to people. I'm not trying to deny that. But my view on that was a bit different. I did not hesitate, no. I just said what I felt is right. See, I've been like this all my life. I think he has seen me before anybody has seen me. I think from what, class 2, 3 we have been together. No? He would see me, I've always been like this. I expressed what I had to express whenever I had to express. And not that I felt wrong or right about somebody else's expression. They're also right in their own way. But I have a view which may be different. I just put it. So everybody's right. It's up to the people from the ocean to take what they want to take. No, I think that is how it is. But every view should be expressed. Now, listening to you, I may write poetry to see if it works and get her to publish it.
Anyone? Yes, there's a.
Good evening, everyone. My question is to Tapan sir. Sir, I'm Ganesh Pillai from Bajaj family. My question is, what is the most important work ethic you have been following for the year?
Okay. There's a couple of things I have done in my life. I've always been, I always have this feeling that if I have to do something, what would the impact be? So I think my interaction with you would be less, but at least my senior members, I always tell them that we're not making difference to people's life. We're not making a difference to the society as a whole. Let us not work. The rest is incidental. No, if you're doing good, money and all comes naturally. But if you're so obsessed only about that, this has to lead to creation of wealth immediately, which has to benefit there. A lot of people talk about it, but as a leader, I've never spoken about it. I always said, what is the purpose? If you're aligning towards that, and if you see and you're part of the company, in 18 years' time, we built this company. We have 14 crore customers. It's one of the most valued companies. But nowhere we focused on just creating wealth. We only focused on making a difference, and we reached there. So I think a lot of people get confused that if you're not focusing on creating wealth, you can't build companies. And that's why I said, now if you look at the latest researches which have come through the past 2-3 years, people have said companies should focus on purpose are the ones which stayed the longest and created the greatest wealth for the stakeholders which should be there. So it is all interlinked. It is not dealing. So I think from very early on, I've been very obsessed about this. In fact, at early time when I was setting the company, upset that people should not lose their job because I could not deliver, in terms of what it has to be. So the obsession towards my people, towards the customer, and to the society has led to where it is. So at a young age, as you grow up in the career, you be clearer as to what your action has impact on whom, and is it positive or negative. If in your mind is positive, just keep on doing it. That is the ethics of it. If it is negative, it is unethical. And obviously you have this Companies Act and the structure, the constitution of the country which defines it also. But at the pure individual level, just ask the question, does it benefit somebody or not? If not, it's unethical. If it does, it is ethical.
I just want to know whether there is some kind of interconnection between spirituality and inheritance. That means, if say the parents or the father in the house happens to be some chela of a guru or chanting mantras and trying to be spiritual, trying to be showing to be spiritual, will the children kind of learn some kind of spirituality or inherit some kind of that type of way of life? And the second thing, I just want to extend what Manjiri said, gratitude. I was during my job going to Japan very often. In Japan, they have a very sweet custom that I used to go there to sell company products, but still, sometimes they will invite you for a dinner. Next day morning, 2, 3 fellows will say, "Oh, thanks for joining us yesterday. Thanks for joining us yesterday." I mean, they used to say it in Japanese. That's a different thing.
No, but let me just now answer your question. Sir, if you look at it, most of the spiritual gurus, if you look at their background, none of them came from a family which was spiritual. No, it's very interesting. No? They would actually come from some very poor family, but they were spiritually inclined from very early age, and that's how the development would happen. I think the second thing, on a lighter note, if you ask most of the parents, the frustration is the children are not listening to them. No? So I think the influence would not come from there. The influence would come from self-realization. As parents, all we do is ask the right question to the child. No? That are you unhappy because you have something in mind, somebody has hurt you? Is that hurt being carried on you, or letting to forgive? I think we have to work on the fundamentals of it, and gratitude is one of the biggest fundamentals, sir, because as per research, you can't have two emotions at the same time. No, it's so interesting. So try and have gratitude and anger together. So try it right now. You can't have it. Unfortunately, the brain cannot multitask at that level where you can have two emotions at the same time. So if you train your mind to have gratitude at all points of time, it will become very powerful, sir. So I think that is where most of the Eastern cultures, not only Japan has still been able to carry it for a long time, which is very good. Look at India also. The kind of gratitude when we have and meet people, we fold hands, bow down, thank everybody. We touch feet also, and we saw this video recently going on Ratan Tata and Narayan Murthy. That is our country. That's a culture. We are eternally grateful for everything. The problem is we are forgetting this. The problem is we are allowing our minds to have more negative emotions than positive emotions. And as society, we are encouraging such kind of emotions of aggression, which is leading us to where we are. So very relevant point raised, sir. Thank you for that. But those are my views on that.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. It was really wonderful.
Thank you, sir.